Good morning or good afternoon, I suppose, depending on when you want to do your IPC. So the lesson this week, we are going to be doing, both lessons are going to be based on creating a piece of artwork based upon Mayan culture. Now I'm going to go through lots of different types of artwork today, because we're going to look at how they used art to depict what occurred in their times. And then you're going to be creating your own pieces. Now, because you're going to be creating your own pieces, I'll probably go over what would have been two lessons. So all of us do the introducing it and having a design bit today, and then you'll have a go at properly making it your piece of artwork in the other session. So, Mayan civilization. We've looked at bits and bobs. We've looked at the priests and how they used to be quite important in Mayan culture. We've looked at Mayan writing. We're now looking at different ways they showed what happened in their times. So they created many different types of artwork. Their art depicted religious beliefs, their way of life, the wars that they fought in, and then how they sacrificed people, kings and things like that. And their kings took on thought art was really, really important because art was how they would be remembered. And all the kings wanted to be remembered as great kings, really important. So they thought that having themselves represented in art was a really important way to do it. So some of the main artwork was made in sculpture form. So they made sculptures often out of stone because it would then stay longer and remain. And they were put often beside altars to help with religious worship and to show different gods often and things. The largest sculptor was discovered in this Mayan city of Kirigua, and the craftsmen would use sort of chisels and hammers to chip away at the stone and make it. So sometimes they made large ones, sometimes they were smaller ones. They also worked in other materials, so wood and limestone, but generally it was heavier stones that they worked on so they would last. And some of them are really impressive, like this picture here, really, really lovely and intricate. Ceramics, so this is your sort of pottery, and they used to make pots, vases, cups, lots of different things, and they were often painted with decorative patterns. So here lots of different patterns around the rim, and there's a main picture on it, and they painted it in a style called polychrome. What that meant was using a range of colors, so reds, yellows, oranges, colors that were easy for them to make. And the decorations were from sort of Mayan mythology, so things they believed in, like their gods and different myths that they were told, and also things from everyday life. And these pots are how we can understand the Mayans, because lots of these pots, because they were made so well, survived, and we can see from the pictures what they used to believe in and what they used to do. So they help us understand a lot more about the Mayan era. There's some more ceramics here. So there's an engraved head that's been made. And then there's a polychrome urn. So you can see the reds and the yellows for the jaguar, this sort of darker color. For here, it looks like a priest with the skulls that are obviously white there. So to say these were made so long ago, I think they're absolutely wonderful. And I don't know how they made such amazing things with the tools that they had. But this is some of the things that they made. Now the ceramic here is a head of a nobleman. You can see some of it's worn away. You can see how intricate it is. So the headdress was made using lots of little pieces and then stuck on the top. But you can really clearly see the face, and they've chiseled and they've scraped away to make it very clear. So that's our ceramics and how they use ceramics. Frescoes. Now frescoes are beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. They've been discovered on the walls of Mayan temples, and they showed scenes of daily life, or they told stories of battles. So like the Bayeux tapestry that we studied showed the Battle of Hastings, these frescoes showed important battles and things that happened during the Mayan times. So the most famous fresco was discovered in Bonampak in Chiapas in Mexico, and you can see it shows the Mayan people, and obviously it's some celebration because they're holding different things. Beautiful colors, lovely vivid blues, lots of color. So it's almost like a painting. So if you're more of a painter or a drawer, you might want to keep frescoes in your mind when I ask you to create your artwork. So if we have a look, what could we say about the Mayans from this fresco? What could we say that they're doing? So if you have a look really closely, what have they got in their hands? Do they look like weapons? Do they look like instruments? To me, because obviously you can look at it and you'll see different things to me. That's how art works. But I can see some instruments here and they're walking in a line. So it looks like there's some sort of celebration or maybe a religious ceremony. So maybe they're playing instruments and going to the temple, already have some sort of ceremony, maybe even a bit of sacrifice. So, and they're all marching there. This chap here looks like he's got a bigger headdress on than the rest. So maybe he's the king at the time. So maybe he's going to do something important. But there's lots of detail and the different colors really bring out a fresco. Another way they used their artwork was weaving and featherwork. So they weave different strings and things together to make beautiful, beautiful artwork, or they used feathers, and lots of these feathers were used in their headdresses. So from carvings and paintings and frescoes and the pottery that we archaeologists have seen, they know that Mayans wore large headdresses made from feathers. So lots of different color feathers, and they were a sign of status with the nobility. So if you wanted to show that you were above the other people and you were rich and important, you would wear clothing made from lots of different color feathers too, very bright. You can see this one here, there's lots of oranges woven in with green feathers. So you didn't just want to look drab with some grey or brown feathers from a pigeon. You wanted lots of exotic feathers in your headdress. They also made jewelry from jade. Now, jade was very valuable to the Maya because they made pendants, necklaces, and engravings from jade. You can see a lovely necklace here. And you can see there's a mask that's made here. We're going to talk a little bit about masks a bit later on. But jade was very important, lovely green color. You might have to think about if you're going to be making something that might look like jade. They made stuff from other materials as well. They used bone. Metal was used for about AD 900, so about the time we're looking at. Pots were made from copper, and there is evidence of gold being used to sort of adorn, to make sculptures look more beautiful, and for jewelry. So gold was being used as well. But you can see here this is made out of, looks like bone. It's been chiseled out. And there, I don't know what it's meant to be, some sort of animal, maybe some type of hippo, something like that. Who knows? Now, we talked about the jade mask earlier. I want to talk a lot about Mayan masks for your artwork because I think it's an option lots of you will take up. So I'm going to talk to you about Mayan masks and how they were used. So masks played a central role in the Mayan culture. So they were made for lots of different types of occasion. They weren't just made for one thing. There were some different ones for celebrations and for funerals. And in fact, when masks were made, they were used to decorate temples. So they were put on the walls and things because they were so intricate and detailed. So masks were often inspired by animals, meaning they were very vibrant and colorful. One here, you can see the animal and the mask. The Mayans believed that animals represented the spirits. So for example, Maya would use jaguar patterns because they were associated with strength. So strong kings would make themselves these jaguar masks that we've got here. You can see the teeth and the colors really bright and eye-catching. So as well as being used for events and celebrations, there were things called death masks. So Mayans were buried with a death mask, which was intended, they put it on the face, to protect the wearer on their journey into the afterlife. So they put it on the body as it was being buried or burnt, and the mask was there to take them safely into the afterlife. Now, the more important you were, the different materials you used for your masks. So the death mask of King Pakal is one of the most famous of the Mayan artifacts that have been discovered. So Pakal ruled the city of Palenque for 68 years. He ruled. Now, back in those days, he ruled for 68 years, so he was very old when he died. And during this time, the city had become very wealthy. He'd made lots of money. So each mask was sort of made by hand, inspired by Maker's imagination. So King Pakal had one made out of jade. So really, really precious stone. He had his made out of that because he was so rich. And jade was meant to symbolize the soul. So that it symbolized your soul, and you wore it as you went to the afterlife. You were meant to be well protected. But you can see it was based on the wearer's face. So we've got, when you think about the nose shape and the eyes, beautiful. So your task, what you're going to do after you listen to this, all of this information about the artwork, is you're going to create a piece of Mayan artwork. So it's up to you which one you do. You might like to rewind the video, watch for different bits of different choices of artwork, but you're going to choose one of the options that we've discussed. Put 3 of the options down here. So if you don't have a lot of materials at home or you don't want to go out and get them, you could create a fresco. So all that needs to be is a nice painting or a nice drawing with lots of color, depicting something that would happen in Mayan life. So it could be a celebration festival, it could be a religious ceremony, you could have one of the priests really brightly shown in it, but you're going to create me that picture. If you've got some materials at home, maybe a bit of cardboard, you could start thinking about creating a Mayan mask. Now on the website, underneath this video, there is going to be a template for a Mayan mask. So if you just want to design a mask on the paper, that's fine. But if you could actually make a mask, that would be amazing. Or you can create some pottery art if you've got some clay or some Play-Doh or stuff like that. If you want to make a bit of pottery, remember what was shown was it could be some of the gods, it could be some of their mythical beliefs, it could be just everyday life for a person. So those are 3 options: the mask, the fresco, or the pottery. You could also do the weaving or the feathers if you wanted to make a headdress. You can make a really big headdress. What a project that would be for the week. That would be great. But what we're going to look to do is we're going to be looking to show these, if we've made them, in our final tutorial sessions of the term. So on that last Friday, we're going to look to show to the people in our tutorial group the things that we've made. So whether that be our fresco picture, whether it be our mask or our ceramic pottery, completely up to you. But I would watch back the video of the different parts and I'd choose one to do, and then the rest of this lesson and your other IPC lesson for the week, there'll be no video for that one because we just expect you to get on with designing and making some lovely Mayan artwork. Perfect. So that was useful to you. Hope you're going to enjoy making your artwork, and we can't wait to see them in the tutorials. If you, as I said, if you need to see any of the artwork again, just rewind the video to those points and give it a watch again. But I look forward to seeing your artwork. Bye bye now.